See? Are we live? I think we're live. Hello, YouTube.
Cool.
As promised, here we are. How y'all doing today?
Good.
I'm asking you because you can't talk to them as easily.
Right. How are you doing?
I'm a little sleepy, man. It's overcast. It always makes me a little tired. I just want to get some clam chowder and have some hot cocoa. Not the best combination of other people. But for me, fantastic.
It's been a cold week in Colorado.
Yes.
For the first time in a while. Hey y'all, we're gonna do a mailbag today. You guys submitted some questions, and we're gonna answer them.
Yeah.
It's the best of our ability.
Best of our ability, unless we don't want to answer the question, in which case we will evade.
Just dodge it. Speaking of
Hey,
which.
Dan. Hey, Top. Hey, the diamond TARDIS. Wow,
Ooh.
that's fancy. It's like one of those blue diamonds.
We're drawing the questions from a hat. So the first question is not a question.
It's a really nice compliment.
It may be a bit off topic here, but I think a collab with you guys and K-Flay would be amazing.
We agree.
We think so too.
We've shared the stage with K-Flay a few times.
Yeah, it was in Colorado Springs, and she tore it up. K-Flay does this thing. I don't know if she still does it as much, but I remember that night she would, in the middle of her verses, she had a little squeak she would do that I had never heard any other MC do. I talked to her about it, and she was like, "Yeah, it's the squeak," and I was amazed by her squeak. For anybody who knows, is K-Flay still doing the squeak?
Yeah.
We'll put that out there as an open question.
But are we going to collab with K-Flay? Should we?
Hey, let's just loop K-Flay in. Somebody hit her up and say, "Yeah, let's do it."
So I think there was a question kind of you should do this. Why aren't you?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she actually. This is a very good question because it's pretty close. It's kind of almost happened. She at one point I was working on some things and she's like, "Send them my way. Maybe I'll see if I could get a beat going to that." Kind of never came together. But at a different point, she was collaborating with people on tour, and she was reaching out to people in each city. And she reached out to see if we could do something with her when she was in town, and we were not in town. So ask her that question. Ask us again. Maybe y'all can help make it happen.
The universe will find a way to.
Yeah. This is how the universe makes it happen.
Yeah.
Through YouTube Live, I think.
Do we know who asked that question?
Oh, we don't.
We don't. I think it was one of the comments, I think, on our last one.
Well, fantastic comment and question.
Thank you for the question.
You are. Thank you.
Should we draw another one from the hat?
Let's do another.
Yeah. By the way, hi Dharma. Thank you so much. You are amazing.
You want to draw one? There's the two girls.
It's
just my sweaty head.
Let's see. So this is a question. What was it like to write the songs on your most recent album, that's No Enemies, with everything happening in politics right now? It's a good question.
You want to take that one?
Well, I think we may have said this some other time, but when we wrote No Enemies, it was, Trump wasn't even a nominee yet. Mm. So in some ways, it's kind of disappointingly prophetic to have so many of the songs be so relevant now that many people thought that we had written the songs after a lot of the political happenings right now. What it felt like when we were writing it, though, is we sat down with the intention of really trying to pay attention to what was going on. So we just wrote into how we were feeling at the time when we were writing it. And it just so happens, I think a lot of times when you do that kind of stuff, that it ends up speaking to the world as it is and how it possibly will be, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of people that were like, "Hey, now that Trump's been elected, you all really have something to talk about, right?" And it's like, yeah, but we had stuff to talk about before. It would have been fine if it had gone the other way, and we would have still had plenty. So don't try to make things worse in the world just for us to have songs to write about. We got plenty.
Actually, I just want Steven, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name, Heich. Guys, will you be making music like Fight with Tools again? I missed the beat and the advocacy of your music. I literally was enlightened, and the matrix broke because of it. Oh, man, that's fantastic. I think our desire is to, as artists, is to keep on making music. And I think we've actually been a bit hungry for some of that more direct advocacy that we had specifically in Fight with Tools. It's a flavor, I think, that we like to return to, and I think people might need a bit more information in some of the music right now than what they get. So yeah, I think that's a yes. And if it weren't a yes before, Stephen, you really prodded me to try to do that again. So thank you. Let's get another question.
Question.
Do you want to draw this one?
Yeah, I'll draw this one. Let's see. From the hat. What brought you guys together as a group or as a duo? Well, it's a great question. The band has actually been through many different forms and permutations. Jamie, do you want to speak to as a duo? And then, like, Sarah, we'll have you talk about, like, what brought you into the fold.
So, in the year 1987, I was attending Bradley Elementary School. And what I remember is that there was a hat that I always wore because I was very nostalgic for my old elementary school, Del Pueblo. I had this hat, the Del Pueblo Eagles, and I would wear it pretty much every day. And one of those days I showed up and apparently...
I think it was one of the first days of school, something like that, at Bradley Elementary. And I had a vision. I was there with my dad. And I remember I tugged on my dad's sleeve and I pointed to this boy wearing this blue hat. I'm like, Dad, you see that boy? He's going to be my friend. And that was Jamie. That was my first memory of him. And I forget what it was, but I remember when I first met him, he was just so kind and energetic and brilliant. Yeah, he absolutely was going to be my friend. He's been my friend ever since.
And I can't remember the very earliest, but I remember one of the things we did right away was like, we would have like parties during lunch. I would bring like New York seltzers and salsa Dorito tortilla chips.
Yeah,
it was the cream soda and the blueberry flavors of New York seltzers, and then the salsa Doritos.
The salsa Doritos at that point in time were the Takis of the 90s.
They were good.
The hot Cheetos and Takis in the 90s.
And I'd just bring a bag, and I was a fifth grader, and I'd share with all the fourth graders.
He's so kind.
I remember catching some flack.
Yeah, across the aisle, reaching across the aisle.
Across the aisle.
There's all these taboos separating us.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that show Recess, but yeah.
Oh, that's
it was fantastic. That show was crazy. But the band has now been around for about 11 years, 13 years. And so there've been many different people like in the band. Some folks are not playing with us as much because they're had priorities of raising families or getting PhDs and other things. And like some of those permutations have brought Sarah to us. So Sarah, talk to us about how you came to.
Yeah. Well, the year is 2016. It's not 1987.
So everyone, let's try to dress a little more 2016 to set the scene.
Yeah. I know it brings up a lot of memories. So I just moved out to Colorado from the East Coast. I don't want like the East Coast right over there. I lived in Massachusetts, and I had been getting my degree in music there, and I just finished it, and I ended up moving out to Colorado. Why
Colorado though?
Well, my boyfriend lived out here. That's why. Yeah, I always feel silly saying that.
Because he's an incredible dude, though.
He is an incredible dude. Yeah. So I moved out here, and he's also a musician. So, and he had been raving about the music scene out here, and it kind of seemed like an unlikely place for me initially because everyone I knew was moving to Nashville and to LA and New York, and I for some reason I just knew like that wasn't for me. So I moved out to Colorado, and it was sort of a thing about being in the right place at the right time, where one of my college professors ended up throwing my name out when you people.
Asking around.
The Flobots are asking around. I'm so sorry. You people.
You people.
You people.
Keep on coming. You people, we love you. All you people.
Well, yeah, the Flobots were looking for. Well, you were looking for a violist, and actually, what I was doing, I played 5-string violin. So technically, I didn't actually fit the bill, but because it's a 5-string violin, which is like a cross between a violin and a viola, it worked.
Yeah, we spent years learning to say viola instead of violin. Years, and now we have to switch it back.
It's kind of like when you have a friend who has a name that might not be easy for people to pronounce, and like every day you're fighting for that person, and you're saying their name properly, and then like they change it up, and like your old habits die quick. So it's like, oh wait, no, it is violin. It's violin, 5-string violin.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got next year.
Get him, Sarah.
Oh, shall I? Let's see. Flobots song. I want to know about lyrics, music, recording, etc.
I have no idea.
Here's the thing. People ask us this a lot. They're like, what's your process? And I think with some bands, there might be like one main process, especially if it's a band that has like one person that always does it, you know, the guitar, singer, and they just write it like that. But we really all contribute, and it's different every single time. So you have to ask us about a specific song.
Yeah.
Maybe we could randomly pick like 2 songs and tell the process of those.
Actually, just to see.
Let's ask. Yeah. What are besides Handlebars?
Yeah. So yeah, just come up with the first people to ask like two songs that they want to hear about. Then we'll tell you the origin story of said song. Oh,
is the camera off? Oh, someone asked about loneliness.
Loneliness. All right.
Buried Alive.
That one's a fun one, actually. I mean, fun because it's about loneliness. We were on tour in it was St. Louis, I think, playing this college venue there, and I remember our green room was like this house, and you know, it was like used for like it was somebody's office, but it was kind of a nice little green room. But I was there, and I was completely by myself at that point. And I remember like, well, I was in the restroom and I was humming this tune, and then just kind of like writing some of those lyrics. I felt fairly lonely, so I was kind of just being in this space that seemed really nice and kind of luxurious, but was actually felt kind of empty and isolated. And I remember recording the melody and then gradually making that song into, I think, one of the rhymes of the day. And then when it came time to write the album, we then took like this little hummed melody and made it into bass line, fleshed it out with viola and everything else. And so the song came together from there. So that was the start of it. And then from your end.
No, I mean, I think just like all of us can very easily connect with some sort of experience of loneliness, especially in this modern age. And so it's just really easy to kind of like hop on it from there. In particular, a lot of times when Jamie and I are writing our lyrics, we're doing it in total isolation. And so it's really easy to kind of connect. You're like up late at night or really early in the morning, just you. Yeah, so it was just like from that position, just that's where like the song came for us both lyrically. Now, Buried Alive, that's a separate thing. So much so I can't even remember.
Well, real quick, one other thing on loneliness was that the end of it, I remember it was kind of like the icing on the cake was Kenny playing around with these really big drum sounds. And he kind of just, I think we recorded a lot of takes of him just going crazy on the drums. And so, you know, the finishing touches involved that kind of like outro solo. Buried Alive was in the No Enemies process. I think it might have started with you and Seraphin and Gabe. Messing around with some chords that Seraphin had. The process of No Enemies, we kind of like we went all over the place. We would try the same idea like 4 or 5 different ways at the very beginning before we even wrote anything to it. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I don't remember much of it, but somebody's asking about Quarantine and the music video for it. But I can answer your question real quickly. That's from Akira. The AMV that I made of it is from the movie Akira, which is like an anime classic made by Akira Kurosawa. The comic book is awesome. The anime was groundbreaking. It was one of the most expensive anime made at the time. I think the studio went almost bankrupt making it. But it's worth it. So you get the chance. I think there's plenty of versions of it, just like even on YouTube or something like that. But check out the original American dub version. I'm usually a subtitle person, but the American dub version has some like incredible voice acting. It's epic. But Akira.
Also, just want to say a shout out to Jonathan with the 16-hour shift. I guess that's either coming up or you just had it. Either way, you're tired and you're watching, and we appreciate you. And we appreciate all of y'all for watching this.
Yeah.
Let's dive into some more.
Yeah, do you want to take a song?
I mean, we could go forever on the song processes.
Yeah, and Toucan, who doesn't like memes? What you talking about? Of course we like memes. All right, what would you suggest are some of the best ways for people to make a positive impact? Maybe even specific organizations or movements you think are particularly powerful. Sometimes it can feel really overwhelming trying to figure out where to start. That's a great question. I think everybody at some point in time wonders how they can serve best, right? How they can be useful, how they can feel like they're helping. But what are some of our suggestions?
I think it's really easy to focus on the macro situation rather than your own community. So, and I think a big part of that is that like our news and sort of our media cycles generally tend to focus on not necessarily always big picture, but really big national events, which I guess is big picture. And we sometimes forget about the things that are happening in our own communities, which often reflect the things that are happening on the big national scale. But there's often a lot of conversations that can be happening in your own backyard, at your dinner table, and we talk about that a lot. But that's where a lot of big change starts. So thinking about how how you can go about, like a good example is, not to delve too much into recent events, but like what's gone on with the conversation about sexual assault, and how we talk about that, because it's a really stigmatized and taboo topic. And I think the thing to do is, there's a lot of ways of tackling it, but one of the most powerful things is actually having one-on-one conversations with, empathetically and sensitively with the people around you, and checking in on the people because this is an issue that affects a lot of people in your periphery, people you won't even know it affects. And this goes, that transcends not just that conversation and that issue. A lot of issues are affecting people in your periphery that you may not even know.
It's such a good example, though, because the things and just feel helpless.
Yeah.
How much with that? Or you could, and you're helpless, maybe help with that particular decision,
right,
which is a big deal. Or you may not be able to change the result of that. But there's a movie actually I would recommend people called The Mask You Live In, and it's a movie. I think it's on Netflix still. It's a movie about masculinity and kind of like what we are trained as how we are trained as boys to see ourselves and to see manhood. And it's the type of movie that I thought already that I kind of knew everything that was going to be in it. Like, yeah, I get it. And then watching it just kind of rocked my world a little bit. Some of it just because the emotions hit so hard, and some of it because I really hadn't thought of the things it was putting out there. So get together with 4 or 5 friends and watch that movie, discuss what you related to. I think that would make a huge difference.
Yeah. And like some of the advice we also just constantly give is like, go where your heart breaks, because usually that will give you the feedback and the energy to keep on working. A lot of the times what we end up having is people who want to serve, and they serve in a way that doesn't necessarily feed them. And then a lot of times we lose you for life. And we lose the gifts that you have to be able to come up with the solutions. And I think as Sarah was saying, you would be surprised how many tools that you have in your belt to kind of solve some of your local issues or problems across your dinner table, or show up there for a friend who feels invisible. There's so many different ways that we need to show up for people. And like the main thing about being an activist is being active. So like find ways that you can listen to the people around you. And if you have people around you who are like hurting, or ways that are needing certain things that you don't have the skills for, find out if there's a way for you to get said skills, or find somebody who can connect them to the skills and the healing they need. I think a lot of the times we need to be advocates for each other, and like advocates for issues that aren't necessarily our own. I think when we start doing that thing, then that it really shows up. So when men start really showing up for women, we're going to start seeing things change. When Black folks start showing up for the Burmese population, when like we start seeing these things kind of like going across, then we're going to start seeing a network of hands that are there to like uplift all of us. So
apparently our video is doing some crazy stuff that we're not seeing. But does it look cool if we do this? Oh, special.
Whoa.
Wait, this is what it looks like.
Sorry, guys.
There's 2 Stephans. Well, I think that's fun. It says the audio is still coming through.
Yeah. So what's the question?
All right, this is another question here.
Oh. Sorry, that's so.
We just want to see what you're seeing. Ooh,
sorry.
Oh no. Are there? Oh, I like this question a lot. Are there particular places you go in order to find inspiration or creativity? If so, where? Can I go ahead?
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right. There is a place I just discovered. I've been trying to get out a little bit more because I tend to stay indoors when I'm trying to write. And that is fine, but I think it's really easy to get like, even in just like mental cabin fever, especially when you're writing alone. So I found recently a really beautiful little nature walk that's right out of the way, but it's like maybe about a quarter of a mile from where I live. And I had no idea it was there. And I've been living there for 2 years now. So, but it's beautiful. And now I can take like these wonderful like thoughts that are going through my head without feeling I don't know, claustrophobic is sort of the way I feel. Like I feel mentally claustrophobic when I'm inside too long while I'm trying to create. I don't know if you guys.
I'll just say on my end, there's two ways I often write. One of them is like get work done, which is often I need to be sitting at a desk, and like if I'm working on a computer, I need the computer, or if I'm just writing, I'll maybe drink some coffee or tea. But there's the other one I've discovered that the thing you can't plan for is that in the middle of washing dishes, in the middle of walking around doing something else when my mind is occupied, that's when like a little melody will emerge, or even just a set of thoughts that can become the lyrics for a chorus. It comes during those moments. And my advice for anybody who is looking for kind of good creative processes is no idea is too small just to write down. Things that seem the most simple and clear are the things that you needed for that song to make sense, or the things that would tie it all together. So even the simplest thought you might have, if it gives you a little sense of like, write it down and bring it to the creative process.
And for me, it's all about paying attention with like the ears of a musician and the eyes of an artist kind of a thing. Because if I'm sitting back and I'm just looking for beauty around me, it's always there. So even in ugly situations or things that might seem intense or anything, there's a lot of times like these moments that if I'm aware of it, I can kind of capture and be able to revisit when I'm working on music. Or I can go back to a certain type of memory, or any of these things. It can be kind of like I crystallize it and I kind of keep it in my pocket for if I'm writing raps or if I'm working on a play or any of those things. And I feel like those moments are also like usually so crystallized because they're so true. So I love like just kind of keeping my eyes open at all points in time to see when beauty arrives.
I think we're coming down to the end here. We'll do one or two more questions, but I just want to say also, people who ask about how to get involved, the same thing Sarah said about the macro micro applies to elections.
Yes.
With elections, it's so easy to think, it's only about the president, or right now it's only about all the candidates and parties. Those things obviously matter and affect our lives, but there's probably something on your ballot locally that is so much more relevant to your lives that is not getting millions of dollars spent on it. And we're actually going to talk about some of those next week and like really focus on that, how you could fight with the tool of your ballot and your vote. So be on the lookout for that. Let's do one or two more questions though here.
I want to look at Holy Palooza. Do you write down your best ideas at night? I think as Jamie says, like they just kind of come at random and you just need to be ready to catch them when they happen.
I find they blossom at night often. Like sometimes I find that I get seeds for good ideas anytime, and then it's at 3 in the morning when I'm lying awake in bed.
Just making me keep my head off longer.
sorry. Anyways, next question.
For me, a lot of times they pop up from dreams. Like I wake up and try to like write them down and record something.
Yeah, and if you're in your dream and you record it, make sure that you actually woke up and recorded it.
Because a lot of times the really good ideas, your subconscious like, nah, you're not going to come to the waking world with this.
Don't write it on a dream notepad.
Yes.
Like, pinch the notepad.
Yeah. Do you plan to work on any singles that are unrelated to any future full albums? If so, what would the timeline be on something like that?
The timeline is now.
The timeline is now. That's exactly what we're doing. Fantastic. That's a great question, but that's what we're doing. We're working on a bunch of new singles because we don't have the time to wait for a new album. So we're trying to get a bunch of stuff out, just like release it as it gets finished. So yeah, stay tuned. That should be coming soon.
Yeah, and thanks for all your questions. We're going to do this from time to time, but next week we'll be back with kind of a more full discussion. Oh, and some of y'all might have seen there's a puzzle. This is the 10th anniversary of Fight with Tools. It's kind of a big year for us. It's an exciting anniversary for us. So there's a Fight with Tools puzzle out there, and if you haven't seen it and want to know more about it, message us on Facebook. But it should have come out to all the Spotify listeners.
Top Spotify fans.
Yeah.
You would have gotten an email about a week ago.
It could be in your spam box.
Could be in your spam box if you've missed it.
Or trash.
If you seem to be missing the email, message us on Facebook, and we'll try to figure out if the email didn't make it to you or where you can find that email.
But yeah, it's a puzzle of the album cover of Fight with Tools. We haven't even touched it ourselves. We just know it. We believe that it exists. Stephen asked, is there any way we can support y'all? Yeah, last time we were talking a little bit about like people were saying, oh, do you care if we download or we want you to hear our music, but we also do love support. And honestly, if you want to rock some Flobots gear, that really helps us a lot. We have a bunch of merch. We just bought a bunch of merch. We would love for you to have some of it.
We have new T-shirts.
Yeah. New T-shirts.
So yeah, go to flobots.com. Like the merch stuff is like one of the best ways to actually, if you were trying to like financially support us, that goes like kind of directly to us in a beautiful way. And we think that you get something pretty cool out of it because you put a lot of thought into merch.
And the No Enemies vinyl is amazing looking. You could order that as well.
Those are restocked.
Yeah.
The hoodies are restocked.
Yes.
Winter's coming. It's cold.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah.
Everybody, shout out to Meg over here who's helping keep us on task here. Anything else we need to tell the people, Meg? All right.
Poochie Moose, is there a plan to make male versions of the Beacon shirt? Yes. Yes. Not yet, but there will be. We just thought the lady should get it first.
And also, what is gender?
Yeah. Ooh.
Poochie Moose, huh? Well,
yeah.
We got some great folks on with us today.
Cranky Tune.
Cranky Tune. Holy Palooza. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us. We'll read over all your names on our own time. That's for us to do.
Yeah.
But yeah. And if anybody's learning Swahili, get at me on Twitter.
There you go.
All right.
Peace.
Oh yeah, we gotta click it.
Yeah. Oh wait, there we go.
This is still wacky.